Well, it's been another crazy week at the circus. Elect a clown and expect a circus, and certainly that is what we have. One can only hope that this circus will soon end, and I do believe that soon it will. There will be no 8 years of Donald Trump in the White House. We'll be lucky if he gets 1 year of in the White House. It's just amazing the things that have gone on in the past week, and understand that we're only 3 months into this administration, and already we have a special prosecutor looking into criminalities of this administration. And I think that this investigation is going to be very far reaching. Those who think that Mike Pence will be president next year, I think, are sadly mistaken, because Mike Pence is just, his hands are just as dirty as Donald Trump's. And Mike Pence really has a reputation of being a liar, and certainly not the Christian that he makes himself out to be. Because no Christian would act the way that he's acted as a politician, and from being a governor, from being a congressperson, and certainly now as being vice president. Because as head of the transition team, he knew all about Mike. He knew all about Mike Flynn. He knew all about his transgressions, and yet they chose to overlook it. Why they chose to overlook all this thing, I guess we'll find out as this special investigation continues. As for Donald Trump, oh well, oh well, what goes around comes around. What goes around comes around. He dogged Obama with about the birth certificate, about this and about that. And now look at what happens. He says, well, there was no special prosecutor in the Obama administration, and look at all the criminalities there. What criminalities, Donald? What criminalities were there? You had a man there who was maybe not the man with the most integrity, but he's a man who tried. And Donald, all that you have done in 3 months is try to screw the people that voted you in, try to screw every American citizen, except, of course, those who are the richest in the country. It's a shame that what's happening. I mean, we look, and there's just no way. And even if Donald Trump were found innocent, which I doubt that he will, it's so hard to recover from something like this, because he's going to be tainted. He's going to be damaged goods. As it is already, we have had no legislation coming out of this administration. The health care legislation really came out of the Congress, not from the White House. And it was really opposite of everything that Donald Trump said that he would put in a legislation. The tax reform package is just pie in the sky at this point. There's nothing that's on paper, so there's no real legislation, just something we'd like to do. The budget, hey, let's face it, the budget is dead on arrival. We've already seen that with the continuing resolution, where the Democrats are able to force their way over the Republicans, and actually to keep out any money for the building of the wall, even though the Trump administration would like to lie to us again and say that they're doing so much to build this new wall. This wall will never get built. It's one of the stupidest ideas there could be, because all we have to do is look at the Berlin Wall. That didn't stay up forever. And why would we want to do something that we already know is going to fail? It's a shame that things have come to this. It really is. Because I think Donald Trump really had an opportunity to prove to the American people that a businessman could run this country. But rather, Donald Trump is all about Donald Trump. All Donald Trump is about greed. And greed will catch up to you. And it is catching up to him. And we can only hope that it will end soon before there's any more damage to this country, because the worst thing is having him in a corner, free to do whatever he feels like doing to try to save himself, getting us into a war, wrecking our economy. Lord knows what goes on in the mind of that man. Yes, I do feel that Donald Trump is mentally impaired because no 70-year-old should act like this. And this is maybe a reason why we don't elect people who are that old to the office of the president. Even on this trip to Europe and to Saudi Arabia, to Israel, he's had to cut that down because he just does not have the stamina. Being president is not for, I don't want to be ageist, but it's really not for older people because there's a lot to do. And it takes discipline. And this president has never had the discipline to do things. His whole family is just about themselves, certainly not about doing good for the country, because you don't see their philanthropic works. As a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania, there's nothing about Trump on the University of Pennsylvania campus. This despite that he's been there, his children have been educated there, but he's never chosen to give back. And we don't see that great philanthropist that really we are required to be, or somebody in his position is really required to be if in fact they are the Christian that they claim to be. One can only hope that this prosecution, this investigation by Robert Mueller will go quickly, and that this nightmare that we find ourselves in will be over soon, and it will again be morning in America.